If you're like me, then a good day might look something like this. You get up in the morning and an event happens, whatever it might be, and that brings up feelings alongside it. And you bring your care to the feelings that come up, and you bring your best self to respond to that event. And that fades into the background, and a new event comes into your day later in the day. And that brings up feelings, and you bring your care to your feelings, and you bring your best self, your very best self, to respond to the event. And that fades into the background. You go through your day with the rising and falling of events, bringing your care to what feelings come up, and your best self to respond. However, if you're like me, that's often not how your days look. What often happens instead is you're going through a day and an event pops up and it brings up all these feelings, and the feelings get very big very quickly. You get sad, angry, anxious in big ways, and it knocks you off course. You dysregulate and you lose track of your best self, and you react to the event instead of respond to it. And it takes you an hour or a morning or all day before you ground yourself again and feel like you're back on solid ground. What happens to us that we want to live lives where we bring our care to our feelings and our best selves to what's happening around us, but instead we often get overwhelmed by our feelings and then just react to our events instead of respond. Let me tell you what's happening, and let me tell you how we get back to engaging with our feelings in a way that allow us to live really well. I think the how or why of this lies in childhood trauma. Let me explain. You learn about yourself and you learn about the world around you early on through your parents. And I'm sure there were times your parents brought a sense of joy and excitement and vitality to you. They saw you and they were excited to see you, and they said, "Come play with me." And there were times they showed you the world and the wonder and beauty of it. But I'm sure there were also other times where your parents, perhaps in their fatigue, in their own overwhelm, perhaps in their own trauma, missed you in important ways. You were angry, and they said, "Cut that out." You were anxious, or you're sad, and your mother said, "You don't have any reason to feel that way. Don't feel that way anymore." Right? Or something like, "Quit your crying, or I'll really give you something to cry about." And kids who are egocentric aren't able to look at what's happening and say, "Oh, mom's just having a tough time," or "Dad's having a bad day." They say, "Oh my goodness, what's wrong with me that I'm making my parents respond in this way? There must be something wrong with my anger, my sadness, my anxiety. I better hide these things away because they're clearly not welcome here." And so we as children begin to try to figure out, how do I get through my childhood while repressing and not expressing my sadness, my anger, my anxiety? And so we go through all these childhood events throughout our 18 years, often not able to express and feel what's happened to us and share the feelings of what we've gone through. When we enter into adulthood, we enter into adulthood with all this history of unexpressed emotion around things that happened to us in our childhood. And so, when the driver cuts us off in traffic, and we're understandably upset at being cut off in traffic, what happens is that we don't just feel the anger of being cut off in traffic, but we remember the anger of all the times we were unseen, unnoticed, interrupted, cut off, shut down. And suddenly what erupts from inside of us is not only the anger of that driver, but all the anger of all that we couldn't express growing up around all the times that something similar happened to us, where we just felt we weren't seen. How do we attend to this? How do we find our way forward and learn to live in a different way, where our emotions don't knock us off course, but our emotions are welcomed and cared for and become an important part in moving through life with grace and wholeheartedness? Let me tell you. First, I just want to invite you, whenever possible, to slow down and touch into what you feel. All too often we move through our days as if our feelings were inconvenient. We don't want to feel sad. We don't want to feel angry. We don't want to feel anxious. We want those feelings to go away. We try to get through our days pushing those feelings down as if they shouldn't be there. But what if instead, when the feelings were there, we just slow down enough to feel them, to bring our care to them? Right? If we can bring our care to what we feel, then we can regulate what we feel. And if we can regulate what we feel, then we can say, what does it look like to bring my best self to what's happening to me in the world? And we can respond to the world from the best of who we are.